So, I do apologize. I'm very sorry about this. I recorded this entire bit with no sound. No sound at all. So I am sorry that I did this whole video with no microphone plugged in. It was plugged in, it just wasn't turned on. So now it's turned on, and I started a whole nother series with a whole nother data source, and it's not as good of a data source. It stops in the end of September, but it's still so huge and so comprehensive that I still want to look at it. But it's going to be like a series 2 for COVID data and Power BI. And I still want to stay with this one because we talk about group by in the next video. So if you want to stay here and you want to see how I use group by to connect to a series data that was put into a lookup table, and then group by was used twice for using money. It was costs used per state for uninsured for COVID-19, just to put into your. It's an example of how you can connect with a table. So now I should be following along with this. I am very sorry. Let's get into this. As you can see, I'm using Opera with the VPN enabled, and I'm using a private search browser, and that's just because I'm doing this on video and I've made mistakes where people are able to see my personal information. Like, you go on Amazon and suddenly people can see your where you live. So this is just a little bit better. I do apologize because automatically this thing thinks that I'm in the Netherlands because of the VPN. So sometimes you might see data that is not in English, or information that's not in English. You will not see that here, obviously, because it's data.gov. So we're going to just have it like this. Now, we're going in here, and I want you to look at that metadata updated date at the bottom. It says October 17th, 2020. That is the same day, or the day before, I actually recorded this. So this is actually a really fresh amount of data. It looks like we're looking at the JSON data. JSON data is fine, but if you're going to be downloading data, you probably should do with CSV. It's a little bit faster, and you can run it through Azure Machine Learning. You can run it through SQL Server. You can run it through just about anything, really. And JSON just takes that extra step to properly work with it. But JSON and XML are what you want to use more when you're doing like an API. So if you're trying to connect directly to the web and you want to connect directly to a JSON source, you go ahead and do that. Don't, I love JSON, but CSV is probably a little bit better. JSON, if you want to look at how the data is structured, JSON would be really good to look at, not necessarily connect to a data visualization tool, because it's human readable. It's easier to read. It's one of the most human readable options. Now, I probably should have watched this video and actually looked for the title that I'm trying to find here. I do want you to know, XSL, that's XML. It's kind of like calling a URL a URI. It's kind of a little bit interchangeable. They are two different things. Like XSL has not just the structure but also the style of the data and how it's done. So you can implement it into an HTML page a little bit easier. This is a little bit blurry. I hope it's not as blurry when it gets produced. I hope this is just like a really bad preview, but that should say RSD in the middle in the blue, and that is for your like higher level stuff. We talk about this in a video that I did today also, that is on picking your data format. I didn't produce it yet. I am so bad. I have so many videos that have not been edited and have just run into issues like this with the microphone so many times. So I have to completely redo everything right now. So let's see here. We have reduced care to access to care, loss of work due to illness during COVID-19. Yeah, unless they're actually going to tell you what disease that they had, what illness they had, that could be relatively useless. Claims reimbursement to healthcare providers. Yeah, all right. So this is what I end up using. No, I don't think this is. All right, and it's RDF in this case. I was able to use I could have sworn it was RSF in another case, and RDF. Yeah, so RDF, it works in RStudio. It works with PSPP and SPSS. It works for like all of those things. I believe you can work with it in Excel. I primarily use RStudio with that kind of stuff, so yeah. And realistically, like, you can use R, Python, Spark with Scala. You know, you can use all these different things to properly process your data. And if you're going to do that if you're going to use Power BI or Tableau, I strongly suggest that you do so. I strongly suggest, even SQL Server, I strongly suggest that you use one of these middleman programs to process the data rather than directly into Power BI or Tableau, where it's trying to process the data and it's trying to visualize the data. And the whole thing that I have to say about that point is that it's really, really annoying to take all of the data, put it into Power BI, and then engineer it. That means you're taking off things that you don't really want for that report. Why are you doing that there? Go back to SQL Server and generate a report. And then take that report and put that into Power BI. So much faster. You're talking about 3 hours down to less than 3 minutes. This I cover in the Google Analytics is slow, or Google Analytics to Power BI is slow video. Yeah. So I'm sitting here and I swear I might as well just stop talking for a minute, and because this is taking forever here. So here we go. Reported patient impact and hospital capacity by state. That would be actually a pretty good one. State and county policy orders. Nah. Cases and deaths by state over time. That is going to be a really good data source. Let's see here, and it's comprehensive. This one goes to October 17th as well, I believe. Yeah, right there at the top underneath the title. Metadata updated October 17th, 2020. And right here, if you connected this to JSON, I kind of want to do that right now. I'm going to have to cut down this. COVID Series 2. And we're going to put this on our desktop for now. So yeah, JSON, you should be, with a smaller data supply like this, you could probably do JSON directly into Power BI. I have one going right now that is half a gig of data. It is, it doesn't seem to be actively updated, but it would be really nice because it looks like it's updated every so often, like every couple of weeks. It hasn't been updated in the last 2 weeks, so it gets kind of a bad mark on there for me on that. But like every time it gets updated, your report gets updated for you automatically. So, cheers. So we're looking at this data, and I think from 2015 to whenever I see fit. I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward through this.
As you're watching my cursor scroll around the screen of JSON, wondering why on earth I'm even looking at JSON when we eventually just download the CSV file, and why I never scroll down to even see what the rest of the JSON file looks like, you might consider subscribing, because the real reason I'm doing this is because I want to show you how long this process actually takes. This whole process of this video takes over 27 minutes, so I don't want to really detract. I just want you to see. So try liking, subscribing, and if you don't like it, at least you're getting me out to people who might.
So this is, all right, 23 minutes and 30 seconds. So now I've got 1 minute to tell you everything. One, forget all this JSON stuff. I end up using a CSV. It turns out to be really good. And in the next video, we're going to talk about doing a group by through Power BI because of the fact that this is a smaller file source. It's not going to be constantly updated, so it's not going to have to be constantly updated. I do suggest that if you ever do stuff with data engineering and it's a constantly updated data source, or it's gonna be large over time, or if it's large right now, or even if it's small, you should be practicing this. This is a very important skill. Build a middleman program that does the ETL process for you, and then upload that report into Power BI. So that is what I'm going to go with. The group by option, where you're putting two, you're changing something into basically a lookup table. That is what you want to do for Power BI. With this, we're going to do it in Power BI because it's small, and the data tables that I use to do group bys is small. But yeah, there you go. So come in, check on it next week on Power BI Thursday, and I'll get back to you, I guess, because now we're going to do this, I have to do this. Plus I have another COVID-19 Series 2 because I didn't think that I could just record over this. So now we're at 2640. If this stuff is kind of heavy for you because this is human life, go back and check out Dave Splain's Electronics, where I'm mounting an old 10-year-old, 12-year-old TV that hasn't worked in 5 years. I fixed the TV, I put it on a wall mount, and then I connect a Raspberry Pi to it, and I'm going to try putting in like Kodi and some emulators or something, and it's going to become kind of like the Playroom TV. So check that out. Why is it the Playroom TV? Check it out at Dave Splain's Electronics. If it's not here on Dave Splain's, I'm trying to kind of branch out, and it's a little bit later. So, all right, see you there. Bye. Subscribe.